guys, this is Liv here from 59 Gaming, and have you ever wanted to learn how to use Weavile? In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to use Weavile in the OU tier and tell you guys why it's been on the rise lately as such a potent offensive threat. In fact, it's actually considered one of the strongest ones in the tier currently. If you guys enjoy or if you learned something new, leave a like down below and subscribe to 59 Gaming. When you do, make sure to hit the notification bell so that way then you can get notified on 59 Gaming uploads. And with that said, let's get right into it. So Weavile has currently been one of the strongest Pokemon in the OU tier for a couple of factors. For one, it is a really potent physically offensive Pokemon, which is great considering the massive rise of Slowking lately in the tier, which is one of the best specially defensive Pokemon, being able to teleport out on a lot of threatening Pokemon such as Heatran, which does definitely help Weavile's viability when it is not only a physical Pokemon, but it's also a physical Pokemon that can handle Slowking by going for knockoff. Weavile definitely has made a mark in the tier as another offensive response as well of Pokemon such as Garchomp, Landorus, and even if it's a bit worn down, you can Ice Shard Dragapult, which would normally outpace you and be able to go for U-turn for a lot of damage on you, which does definitely help Weavile make a strong case in the tier as a very potent offensive breaker. Weavile definitely has already made its mark. The fact that heavy-duty boots are in the game as well means that you never have to worry about hazards, whether they're spikes, rocks, or even sticky webs, which would normally hurt a lot of offensive Pokemon such as Garchomp, for example, which does definitely help Weavile's case as a strong breaker in this tier. So one of the sets that I'm going to go over today is the heavy-duty boots area. With heavy-duty boots, you're able to avoid hazard damage, and pressure is the ability of choice here. Neither ability is really useful, but pressure is slightly better, just to stall out a bit of PP if you need to for other Pokemon, because you're not really stalling out any PP with Weavile, you're just breaking stuff. Weavile's set is Sword Dance, Triple Axle, Knockoff, and Ice Shard. Triple Axle is a new move this generation, which will hit for 120 base if you hit all three attacks. However, each attack in the succession is 90 base, and it will hit all in one turn. So you could hit for either 20, 60, or 120 in a given turn. Knockoff is a phenomenal move. It does 97.5 damage based on your opponent having an item, and if it does not have an item, it is 65 damage. It's still a really strong dark option regardless, though, for the physically offensive end. So that makes Weavile just in general a potent physical breaker in the tier nonetheless. Ice Shard is the final move here. It's really just a strong priority option because when you have Sword Stance at +2, you're able to den a lot of things with that 120 attack and the stab Ice Shard hitting for 60 after the stab calculation. So in general, this makes Weavile a very strong setup option, and it's a really good cleaner and breaker in the tier, depending on how the positioning is in the end game. With Ice Shard as well, it's phenomenal for Pokemon such as Rillaboom because you get the +2 off, you're able to easily destroy Rillaboom, which would normally just go for Grassy Glide on you, which does definitely help there a lot as well, considering Rillaboom is also a very potent offensive option in the tier. Next up, we're going to go over the Choice Band of Weavile. Choice Band of Weavile also has a strong presence in the tier, which substitutes Sword Stance for Low Kick. Low Kick is especially helpful when considering Heatran is one of the strongest Pokemon in the tier, and this actually gives you a way to truly damage it outside of just Knockoff, which, while Knockoff wouldn't necessarily kill, Weavile will do a destructive amount of damage to Heatran with Low Kick, making it a very potent breaker even against Mon that would typically switch in on you. Triple Axle, Knockoff, and Ice Shard, those are just, again, the standard Weavile options offensively, which do allow it to actually damage Pokemon in the tier. As I mentioned, this is just a really strong breaker for a lot of common offensive and even defensive threats in the tier, which is why Weavile has risen so much over the past month. Weavile is definitely meant to be your breaker on the team, so without further ado, I'm going to quickly go over a match where Weavile will actually end up putting in a lot of work. So if you guys enjoy that, make sure to, again, like the video and comment your thoughts on Weavile. And with that said, let's cut to the match. So here we are with the battle against David0444 with the Weavile team, which consists of Weavile, Slowking, Zapdos, Heatran, Dragapult, and Garchomp. So if I had to guess, my opponent will probably lead off with the Nidoking or the Heatran, which leads me to believe that my best lead here is definitely Garchomp. There's not really a Pokemon that I'm really scared of if I lead Garchomp, the only one being Azumarill, which I do have Zapdos, which you can definitely beat that, same as Specs Dragapult, which can put on some pressure for sure. So I'm not too worried about any sort of Azu, which we actually do see Azu lead, which is perfectly fine. Even if it is Drum, I'm just going to go hard into Zapdos here, because we do get a free discharge this turn. We see they go for Playoff, which is perfectly fine. I'm just going to go for a Discharge. Even if Nidoking comes in, we still do have options such as our Slowking, which should be able to chew any sort of hits from this pretty easily. Luckily, Slowking is such a SPDF monster, which as we see, they go for an Ice Beam here, which is really good for us. It does allow us to actually get a really free Scald, because even their resists, such as Rillaboom and Azumarill, really don't like switching it on a Scald. So we see Sludge Wave go off, which is not actually doing a ton of damage. We're going to really quickly double into Heatran here, because Heatran isn't the most useful this matchup. Even against Pokemon such as Rillaboom, we have better checks, and it can potentially at least get some HP back on our Slowking, which will help us check this offensively. And if we do die, we always have Weavile, which is great for us. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click Stealth Rocks, and the off chance my opponent maybe over-predicts, because as I said, we don't really need this Pokemon around. It's really just existing here. And this does allow us to just go right into Weavile here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click Knockoff here, because knockoff should certainly kill this, and it will be just a really nice option against whatever decides to come in. So we see the heat train come in, which is perfectly fine. Banning knockoff, while low kick would have probably killed there, it still does a sizable amount of damage for sure. This can really only switch in one more time in Weavile, which is great. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go hard into Slow King this turn, and then we'll probably just teleport out. If my opponent has the taunt here, that's perfectly fine if they click it, because I can just sack Slow King in the exchange. Nidoking is already so weak anyway, and because they didn't switch out here, I'm just going to go right into Garchomp, and I get a really free Earthquake this turn. Even when my opponent goes hard into Rillaboom here, that's perfectly fine. I think that my plan there would be a Scale Shot. We see they go into Hawlucha instead, which is fine. I can just go right into Zapdos, which I don't know why they went into Azu here, because I just get a really nice Heat Wave this turn, because if Nidoking comes in, I can just kill it off right away, and then I can just click Discharge freely. And even if Azu stays in, like we see it did, it's still not going to really beat us 1v1, and we always have a chance for burn as well, because it is a 10% chance. We're just going to go for Discharge and kill this off. That is one threat gone to Weavile. That's actually really the only threat to Weavile alive at this point, besides maybe Grassy Seed Hawlucha. So we're looking pretty good right now. We don't outpace this Nidoking, sadly, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go hard into Slowking here. Even if Slowking does die, it's not a huge deal. We've got some nice chip on the team, and as you can see, it does not end up dying. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click Scald and just take my sack. So we've now killed the Nidoking as well, which is great, because that's at least a Pokemon that stops us from bringing in Weaviles easily. So at this point, I'm going to go for a Teleport here. If my opponent decides to sack, it's fine. We actually see that they do decide to just leave Heat Train in, which is great, because now our Slowking can actually switch onto this another type. And we're just going to go into Garchomp, and we're going to click a Swords Dance here, because at this point, we can at least go for some nice damage with Garchomp. My plan here will be to go for a Scale Shot, because I do not believe that this will stay in, and it actually does. Okay, so we'll click Earthquake this time, just kill off the Heat Train, makes our job with Weavile a bit easier. I don't think we'll be able to sweep the Garchomp at this point, but that's perfectly fine. I'll go for a Fire Fang just to guarantee that we hit with the Rillaboom, just in case if it doesn't kill us for some reason, which we actually see it does not, which is beautiful, because now at this point we can at least force the Hawlucha to come in, we can kill that off, and then we can clean the game up with Weavile. So at this point, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click the Scale Shot, because it will do the most damage if Hawlucha does get hit, of course, which as we can see here, we're getting off some nice damage here, and Ice Shard should be able to easily pick this off. However, I'm going to really quick Calculate real quick. And yep, just as I predicted, no matter how much defense this Pokemon has, we should be able to easily pick this off with an Ice Shard, and then Dragapult should be beaten 1v1 by Ice Shard as well. Worst comes to worst, we'll at least get it in range to where we could beat it with Zapdos. So this game is looking pretty nice for us. As I said, we can use Ice Shard here, and even if this is a Specs Dragapult, which we see it is not, it's actually Thunder Wave, so it's Willow Hex most likely. We still were able to beat it regardless though, because if it clicked Thunder Wave there, I outpaced it. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and hopefully this taught you something about how to use Weavile. If you enjoyed, leave a like below and subscribe for more. With that said, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.